Hi, I'm Dave Bergstrom. I'm the pastor of Avondale Presbyterian Church. I want to ask you a question. Are you a failure? Thomas Edison worked for 10 years to invent the phonograph and the battery. Failure after failure. It just wasn't happening. And then one night there was a fire, and it destroyed everything. All of his records and designs, including the building. It was estimated $1.2 million worth of stuff was destroyed. The next morning, he was standing in the ashes and he said to his family, "Look, all our failures have been burned up." What a way to look at it. And then 2 months later, he invented the phonograph and the battery. Now, wouldn't you like it if all your failures were reduced to ashes, where no failures ever came back to haunt you? Well, remember Peter? He walked with Jesus for 3 years. He's one of Jesus' closest friends. And he goes out and he denies that he ever knew Jesus. But that wasn't the end of Peter. Peter experienced forgiveness and restoration from Jesus. Jesus met Peter after the resurrection, and he asked Peter 3 times, "Do you love me?" And Peter responded 3 times, "Yes, you know I love you." And then Jesus said 3 times, "Then feed my sheep." What he was saying to Peter is, Peter, you're forgiven and you are restored. And Peter was the first one to preach the gospel after Jesus died and rose from the tomb. Let me try to drive home this point. Failure is an event. It is not who you are. Failure is what you've done, not who you are. Can you hear Jesus saying to Peter, "Simon, tonight you're going to fail, but you will come back, you will get it together, and you're going to help other people grow." You're going to fail, but that's not who you are. And Peter, I will use your failure to do something awesome. Some of us may think we're failures. Perhaps you've heard your parents say over and over again, "You're a failure." Or maybe you failed in your moral life, or you failed with your integrity, or you failed as a parent. And these are big failures. But these are events. These may even have a series of failures in a stage of your life. But as a follower of Jesus Christ, that's not who you are. You are not a failure. When you come to faith in Christ and decide to follow Jesus, you can say, "I was lost, but now I'm found. I was blind, but now I see. Out of the ashes, I will rise to victory. I'm not in bondage to my failures. Failure is an event. It is not who I am." Let me give you an illustration. Mr. Brownlew North, what a name. He was an evangelist. He got saved late in life. He was asked to speak at a church close to where he grew up. He went into the church. He sat in the front row. A lady had heard that he was coming to speak, and she carefully constructed a note to him. She approached him where he sat in the front row. She handed him the note, and she left and stood in the back doorway. He opened the note and he read it. It said, "I know who you are. I know what you've done." And then there was this long list of everything she knew that he had done wrong. At the end of the note, she said, "If you get up and preach in this church, I will expose you to the entire church." Well, he got up to preach. And he said he had planned to start the sermon differently, but he changed his mind. And he took the note out of his pocket and publicly read it, word for word. Then he folded the note, put it back in his pocket, and said to the people, "Every word of that note is true. And there are far more worse things that I have done. But tonight, I want to introduce you to the God who took such a vile man and turned me into the man I am today." That's not only being forgiven, that's freedom. And God used this forgiven man to bring faith to many that night.